Hi, I'm back with Read Aloud number 2, and this is a book called Rosa Parks. I actually have another book on Rosa, but it's a little long, so I thought I would switch it out for this biography. You know, a biography is a book that tells the story of someone's life. It is an informational text, but it tells you about that person and how they lived. So here's Rosa, and she's riding on a bus. Now, if you remember, Black people had to sit in the back. Rosa McCauley was born in Alabama in 1913. Rosa and her family are African Americans. Her parents taught her that all people should be treated equally. This is the timeline, so it shows her birth. She was born in 1913. Rosa's mother was a teacher. She taught Rosa how to read. Rosa was a good student, but she could go only to schools for African Americans. So this is a school for African Americans. So she started school when she was 5 in 1918. So only black children went to that school. The problem at that time was that white children's schools had much nicer books and classrooms and schools. There was more money put into the white people's schools, and so they were just nicer schools. And sometimes black children could live right next to the white school, and they would have to ride a bus all the way across town to get to a school far from their home that wasn't as nice as the one that might be right next door. Does that seem fair to you? Probably not, huh? The United States had segregation laws in the early 1900s. Segregation separated people because of their colors, of their skin color. White people and African American people were kept apart. So there's the white people's coolers and the people who are considered colored. They're coolers. Rosa did not like segregation laws. Neither did Raymond Parks. They worked together to end segregation. Rosa married Raymond in 1932. So here's a civil rights march. A lot of times, blacks and then whites who believed that blacks were being treated unfairly, under the leadership of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they would march to show that they felt the laws should be changed. So they would march places, and big groups of people would come together, and they would sing, and they would have speeches given, and try to make people listen to what they were saying about how they felt it was unfair that things were not the same for everybody. Rosa and Raymond worked hard for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. That's called the NAACP. That's the initials. This group worked for equal rights for African Americans. So the group, the NAACP, does work to help make sure that things are fair for blacks in America. Laws in some states said African Americans could sit only in the back of a bus. One day, in 1955, a bus driver asked Rosa to give her seat to a white man. But Rosa did not move. So they wanted her to stand up and let this white man have her seat. And she didn't go. Rosa was arrested. She was fined $10. The NAACP asked African Americans to boycott buses. That means don't ride the buses. For 1 year, African Americans did not ride city buses in Rosa's town. They walked everywhere. They wouldn't ride the bus. Rosa went to court. In 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that segregation on public buses was against the law. So the Supreme Court, the biggest court in the United States, said that making blacks sit in one place and whites sit in another was against the law. So sometimes people have to push to change a law. And one way that we change laws is they go to the courts. And then the court in the United States, the Supreme Court, decides what is true about a law. And so they said, no, this isn't fair. Rosa won her case. And because she won her case, the buses could no longer make black people sit in the back. Rosa still works for equal rights. She won the Medal of Honor in 1999. She helped young people become good citizens. People call Rosa Parks the mother of the civil rights movement. So she won a Medal of Honor in 1999. Now, I have to say, I don't really think she's still alive. I feel like she's passed away. I'll have to look that up and let you know, because I don't remember now. But I feel like she's passed away. If not, she was born in 1913. Yeah, she's passed away, because if she were still alive, she'd be well over 100 years old. But I don't remember what year it was. If she were still alive, she'd be 107. But I'm pretty sure she's not alive anymore. I just don't remember what year she passed away. So today we read 2 read-alouds about important people who were here during the oh no, my markers keep disappearing. The civil rights movement. Civil rights means the rights of the people. You know, back in those days, like when my mom and dad were kids, white people had more rights than black people. And so during the 50s and the 60s especially, there was the civil rights movement. And during that time, black Americans, as well as white Americans who also had empathy for the blacks in their community, would march. They held boycotts. They did demonstrations. One example is there were lunch counters where people would go in and sit at the counter and eat dinner and lunch, and only whites could go in there. So some white people with their black friends would go into the lunch counter together and sit down and try to order. There are some famous pictures from a time when that happened. Some people came in and sat down, and because they had blacks with them, all the white people in the restaurant were dumping ketchup and soda on them, and they just sat there and didn't do anything because they were being peaceful. And it really did kind of show the ugly side of the people who were being mean to them. I am actually friends on Facebook with a gentleman whose mother was a big part of that movement. She was arrested in the 60s for being with black people in places where it was against the law for blacks to go. And her name was Jean Mulholland. And his name is Loki Mulholland. He's a filmmaker he makes movies about the civil rights movement and the time of his mother, and even about actions in America today. So there's a lot of kind of nasty stuff that happened in those days. But because of the hard work and the bravery of the people who did those things to show everybody how unfair it looked, things started to change. And laws were changed, meaning that you couldn't say, I'm not going to hire you for a job, or you can't come here because of the color of someone's skin. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that everything is fair and equal in the world today. things are always going to be changing and evolving, which means that, as we grow and we learn as people, then we become better and better, hopefully. So you might have noticed that in the last year there have been some things talked about that have to do with the color of our skin. It's always coming back into the forefront because people's hearts are kind of deciding how people feel about things, and those hearts can always change and learn and grow. So I hope that this week, as we've been reading some of these stories, that you become familiar with some of the things that have happened in our history. Our history is made up of lots and lots of lessons and growth and change, and all of those things will make our country and our people better and better all the time. What you have to decide as you're growing up is how your heart feels about things and what you're going to vote for and choose in your leaders. Anyway, I could go on, but I hope you had a great day, or you're having a great day, and I hope you enjoy learning about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. I'm really excited for tomorrow's Read Aloud because it's one of my favorite people in the world, one of my biggest heroes, and proof that even children can make changes in our world. Talk to you soon. Bye.